So before we learn how to calculate the amount, we need to recognize where is the amount come from. So the first is carrying amount. This is amount which is an asset is recognized after deducting any accumulated depreciations and accumulated impairment losses. Second is cost. This is amount of cash or cash equivalent paid or the fair value of the other considerations given to acquire an asset at the time of acquisitions or construction. Next is depreciable. This is amount, the cost of an asset or other amount substitute for cost, that is residual value. Next is depreciations. Is the systematic allocations of the depreciable amount of an asset over its useful life. Next. Next one is entity. Entity amount is specific value is the present value of the cash flow an entity expects to arise from the continuing use of an asset and from its disposal. And this is fair value amount is the price that will be received to sell an asset or pay to transfer a liability. And next is an impairment loss. Impairment loss ni macam rugi is the amount by which the carrying amount of an asset exceeds its recoverable amount. Recoverable amount is the higher of an asset, fair value less cost to sell, and is the value in use. The last one is the residual value of an asset, that is estimated amount that an entity will currently obtain from disposal of the asset after deducting the estimated cost. Next. Under property plant and equipment, there is a tangible asset item which is held for use in the production or supply of goods or services for rental to the others or administrative purpose. Maksudnya aset ni digunakan untuk pengeluaran atau pembekal yang disewakan kepada orang lain. And aset ni digunakan lebih dari setahun. Are expected to be used during more than one period. That's all for me. Thank you.
I'm Michelle Natasha. Next is recognition. PPE shall be recognized as an asset if it is probable that future economic benefits associated with the item will flow to the entity and the cost of the item to the entity can be measured reliably. Under recognition, there is two costs, initial cost and subsequent cost. PPE under initial cost is measured at cost. The cost shall comprise purchase price, including import duties and non-refundable purchase taxes after deducting trade discounts and rebates. Second, any cost directly attributable to bringing the asset to the location and condition, and the initial estimate of the cost of dismantling and removing the item. As for subsequent costs, there is two expenditure and capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. First is capital expenditure. The cost can only be capitalized if the costs increase the useful life of the PPE, increase the production capacity of the PPE, and reduce the cost of production. Second is revenue expenditure. The examples are maintenance costs, renewal of license, service costs, and training costs.
Assalamualaikum, nama saya Nur Ati Rahmatika Nur. Kali ini saya ingin membentangkan mengenai measurement and recognition. An item of property and plant and equipment that qualify for recognition as an asset should be measured at its cost. Next. Under measurement at cost, recognition jadi dua, iaitu element of cost and measurement of cost. Bawah element of cost, the cost of an item of property, plant and equipment comprises. Ini cost yang ada dalam PPE lah. First sekali, it purchase price including import duty and non-refundable. Kedua, any cost directly attributable to bringing the asset to the location and condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner intended by management. And the last one is the initial estimate of the cost of dismantling and removing the item and restoring the site on which is located. Next. Okay, ni example directly attribute lah. Ni kos yang kos untuk kita bawa aset ataupun aset atau itulah aset tu dalam company lah. First kali, cost of employee benefit, cost of site preparation, initial delivery and handling cost, installation and assembly cost, professional fees. Next. Okay, measurement of cost. The cost of an item of property, plant and equipment is the cash price equivalent at the recognition date. If payment is deferred beyond normal credit term, the difference between the cash price equivalent and the total payment is recognized as interest over the period of credit unless such interest is capitalized. One or more item of property, plant and equipment may be acquired is exchanged for a non-monetary asset or a combination of monetary and non-monetary asset. The following discussion refers simply to an exchange of one non-monetary asset for another, but it also applies to all exchange described in the preceding sentence. Thank you.
Habis dah? Habis dah ke? Hello?
Belum, sir. Sekejap.
Belum sebelum.
Sorry, sir.
Oh, dia dah kata thank you. Okay. Habis dah.
Measurement after recognition, an entity shall choose either the cost model in paragraph 30 or the reversion model as its accounting policy and shall apply that policy to an entire class of property, plant and equipment. So for cost model, after recognition as an asset, an item of property, plant and equipment shall be carried at its cost and less any accumulated depreciation and any accumulated impairment losses. For revaluation model, first after recognition as an asset, an item of property, plant and equipment whose fair value can be measured reliable shall be carried at a revalued amount, being its fair value at the date of revaluation less any subsequent accumulated depreciation and subsequent accumulated impairment losses. Second, if an item of property, plant and equipment is revalued, the entire class of property, plant and equipment to which that asset belongs shall be revalued. Third, for depreciation, each part of an item of property, plant and equipment with a cost that is significant in relation to the total cost of the item shall be depreciated separately. Second, the depreciation charge for each period shall be recognized in profit or loss unless it is included in the carrying amount of another asset. This depreciable amount and depreciation period. For depreciation amount of an asset shall be allocated on a systematic basis over its useful life. For the residual value and the useful life of an asset shall be reviewed at least at each financial year end, and if expectations differ from previous estimates, the changes shall be accounted for as a change in an accounting estimates in accordance with Mfrs 108. For impairment, to determine whether an item of property, plant and equipment is impaired, an entity apply Mfrs 136, impairment of asset. That standard explains how an entity reviews the carrying amount of its asset, how it is determines the recoverable amount of an asset, and when it recognizes or reverses the recognition of an impairment losses. For compensation impairment, compensation that third parties for items of property, plant, and equipment that were impaired, lost, or given up shall be included in profit or loss when the compensation becomes receivable.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Nabi Azmi. I'm going to present about the recognition and disclosure. So for the recognition, the carrying amount of an item of property, plant, and equipment shall be recognized on disposal, and when no future economic are expected from its use or disposal. Next. The gain or loss arising from the recognition of an item of property, plant, and equipment shall be included in profit or loss when the item is derecognized, unless MFRS 16 leases requires. Otherwise, on a sale and leaseback, gains shall not be classified as revenue. The disposal of an item of property, plant, and equipment may occur in a variety of ways, such as sale, by entering into finance lease, or by donation. The date of disposal of an item of property, plant, and equipment is the date the recipient obtains control of the item in accordance with the requirements for determining when a performance obligation is satisfied in MFRS 15. MFRS 16 applies to disposal by a sale and leaseback. The gain or loss arising from the derecognition of an item of property, plant, and equipment shall be determined as the difference between the net disposal proceeds, if any, and the carrying amount of the item. The amount of the consideration to be included in the gain or loss arising from the derecognition of an item of property, plant, and equipment is determined in accordance with the requirements for determining the transaction price in paragraph 47 to 72 of MFRS 15. Subsequent changes to the estimate Subsequent changes to the estimated amount of the consideration included in the gain or loss shall be accounted for in accordance with the requirements for changes in the transaction price in MFRS 15. Next. Disclosure. The financial statement shall disclose for each class of property, plant, and equipment. First one, the measurement basis used for determining the gross carrying amount. The second one is the depreciation methods used. The third one is the useful lives or the depreciation rates used. The fourth one are the gross carrying amount and the accumulated depreciation aggregated with accumulated impairment losses at the beginning and end of the period. The fifth one is a reconciliation of the carrying amount at the beginning and end of the period showing additions, assets classified as held for sale or included in a disposal group classified as held for sale in accordance with MFRS 5 and other disposals. Acquisitions through business combinations. Next. The fourth one are increases or decreases resulting from revaluations under paragraph 31, 39, and 40, and from impairment losses recognized or reversed in other comprehensive income in accordance with MFRS 136. The fifth one is impairment losses recognized in profit or loss in accordance with MFRS 136. Impairment losses reversed in profit or loss accordance with MFRS 136. The seventh one is depreciation. The eighth one are the net exchange differences arising on the translation of the financial statement from the functional currency into a different presentation currency, including the translation of a foreign operation into the presentation currency of the reporting entity. And the last one are other changes. Next. The financial statement shall also disclose when the existence and amounts of restriction on title and property, plant, and equipment pledged as security for liabilities. Next, the amount of expenditures recognized in the carrying amount of an item of property, plant, and equipment in the course of its construction. The amount of contractual commitments for the acquisition of property, plant, and equipment. And the last one is if it is not disclosed separately in the statement of comprehensive income, the amount of compensation from third parties for items of property, plant, and equipment that were impaired, lost, or given up that is included in profit or loss. Next. In accordance with MFRS 108, an entity discloses the nature and effect of a change in an accounting estimate that has an effect in the current period or is expected to have an effect in subsequent periods. For property, plant, and equipment, such disclosure may arise from changes in estimates with respect to A. Residual values, B. The estimated cost of dismantling, removing, or restoring items of property, plant, and equipment. C is useful lives, and the last one are depreciation methods. Next. If items of property, plant, and equipment are stated at revalued amounts, the following shall be disclosed in addition to the disclosures required by MFRS 13. A. The effective date of the revaluation. B. Whether an independent valuer was involved. C and D are deleted by IASB. E. For each revalued class of PPE, the carrying amount that will have been recognized had the assets been carried under the cost model. And the last one are the revaluation surplus, indicating the change for the period and any restriction on the distribution of the balance to shareholders. Next. Users of financial statement may also find the following information relevant to their needs. The carrying amount of temporarily idle property, plant, and equipment. The gross carrying amount of any fully depreciated property, plant, and equipment that is still in use. Next is the carrying amount of property, plant, and equipment retired from active use and not classified as held for sale in accordance with MFRS 5. And the last one are when the cost model is used, the fair value of property, plant, and equipment when this is materially different from the carrying amount. Therefore, entities are encouraged to disclose these amounts. That is all from us. Thank you.